Welcome to The Real with Joseph Lamtman. I am Joseph Lamtman. Thank you for tuning in this episode of The Real, taking time out of your day to come watch this episode. I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe for me. I'd really appreciate that as well. That's the best way you can support this channel and help me grow my content and grow this channel to where I'd like it to be. Everybody hit the like button for me on the way in on this video today. That also helps promote this video more in the algorithms, helps grow this channel more as well. Please share this content. I would really appreciate that. My guests would as well. If you would please share this episode with someone you know that maybe is interested in the topic we're talking about today. Please leave a comment below as well. We'd love to hear your guys' feedback. You can interact with myself and the guest on the panel and the live chat as well. Whatever we're talking about, just leave a comment there in the live chat. Pop in and say hello. We'll put it on the screen for you. And without further ado, let's get to the show. Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Lamtman. I am Joseph Lamtman. You guys are having a great Sunday evening. Playoff Sunday edition of The Real. Obviously, we just got done watching the Rams. Or not the Rams, what am I thinking? The Rams were yesterday. I'm looking at my bracket. The Eagles and 49ers. We watched the 49ers just defeat the Eagles on the road in an upset. Earlier today, we saw the Bills upset. I don't know if you call it an upset. Well, kind of technically it's an upset by the seeding. Upset the Jaguars. And then yesterday we saw the Rams beat the Panthers. And then we saw the Bears, obviously, and the Packers last night. And the Bears were able to get the win. So some great games so far during the playoffs. Probably the better first-round playoff games I've seen in a while. I mean, every game's been down to the wire. And then obviously tonight, right now, we got the Patriots and the Chargers and the New England. And I'm sure that'll be a good one. And tomorrow night's one I'm looking forward to most to, Texans and Steelers. So I'll be looking forward to that. But with all this playoff football going on, there's a lot more stuff going on behind the scenes with coaching searches. Obviously, it's, a couple weeks ago was Black Monday right after the season, and coach just got fired. Our coach got fired here in Cleveland, Kevin Stefanski. And so now it's on to who's going to be the guy for the Browns moving forward. And we've been talking about it. Mike and I were live on his show the other night breaking down some candidates. And obviously the big stunner last week was John Harbaugh getting fired by the Baltimore Ravens after 18 years. And so instantly everybody's like, well, that's the top guy for a lot of people. It's John Harbaugh. Look what he did for 18 years, won a Super Bowl, stability, all the division titles, all the success they had. They were kind of basically a model franchise. And then, towards the end, things just kind of didn't work out and they parted ways. But John Harbaugh is still an excellent coach, one of the better coaches in the league. Some people say he's definitely top 5. And so now he's available. And there's been some interest, obviously, with the Browns. Teams like the Giants, Falcons, the Titans, and those are the teams that were listed tonight by Jonathan Jones in his report. It says 2 sources on the interested teams said their belief is Harbaugh's top choices among the vacant jobs are the New York Giants and Atlanta Falcons in some order. Those sources added the Tennessee Titans are in third place, while a third different source said there is real and mutual interest between the Harbaugh and the Cleveland Browns. And so that's where we go tonight. And obviously there was a report that came out from Jake Glazer that said by the end of the weekend, Harbaugh would have, because he's getting interest from all these other teams, that there'd be about 3 to 4 teams that'll be out there that he's interested in, that he'll actually interview with. And I think that's probably what this report was tonight. Giants, Falcons, Titans, Browns. Those are the 4 teams he's going to interview with. So the fact that the Browns sound like they're in contention to get him, and they're actually going to he's going to give them a legit interview, he's in their top 4, I think means they have a chance. Maybe they're not number 1 on his list, but, like we saw in 2022 with Deshaun Watson, the Browns are not number 1 on his list before that whole thing. But at the end of the day, when it came down to it, the Browns didn't get them in the end. And so this feels kind of similar in some ways. This is kind of the Watson. I get the same vibes as the Watson thing with this Harbaugh thing a little bit. Not saying all the way, because we're just, we'll see how it progresses, each day. I think this upcoming week. I think by next weekend, I think we'll know where Harbaugh is probably going. If I had to bet, I just think it's going to happen a little quicker. I think it'll take about a week. He'll interview with each team, and maybe next Sunday night he'll make a decision where he's going. But I think, though, this reminds me of the Watson thing a couple years ago. And the fact that there is real mutual interest with him and the Browns, I'm not surprised by that. I know some of the people out there in the local media said as soon as this happened, there's no way he's coming to Cleveland. Don't even entertain it. But, I mean, here, the guy's from Toledo. He's got Cleveland ties through his family. I think the way, if you read how the Baltimore Ravens and him departed, it wasn't the prettiest of departures, it sounds like. What came out yesterday, I think they called him on his phone when he was driving on the way home, and it didn't seem like it really ended well on good terms. I think guys in the locker room kind of did him dirty too. I heard from people that would know that Lamar Jackson and he talked a week ago tonight. I think it was. It was Sunday night or Monday. Sunday night, I think it was. And you know, he asked Lamar straight up, you cool with me coming back? What do you think of Todd Monken? He goes, yeah, I'm cool. Cool, coach. Cool with everybody. And then everything seemed fine. And then all of a sudden, Monday morning, because he actually got fired Monday and it came out Tuesday. So maybe that's why the Browns interviewed Monken and the other guy from the Seattle. They're both connected to him. I don't know. I'm sure if he was fired Monday morning, like it was, I heard, then that probably means, teams probably had a good idea what was going on by Monday night, and then it came out public Tuesday. But you know, it sounds like Lamar went and spoke to ownership, and they decided what they were going to do, and they moved on from not only Monken but also him as well. So, I think he definitely would want to play Baltimore twice a year. I think that is something. These coaches are so competitive, and they're always looking for a way to show that they were, better than the guy that let them, if they were fired like this, they want to go show that they're still the guy and they can still lead a franchise to a Super Bowl. And why not a better place than Cleveland too? I mean, if John Harbaugh came to Cleveland and turned it around and maybe won a Super Bowl one day, or at least hell, even he won a division and brought a franchise quarterback finally, that alone I think would put him in a different air because nobody's ever done it. So, something to think of. Now, what would he want and how could we get him here? And that's why I put my thumbnail tonight. How much? What's it going to take to get John Harbaugh here in Cleveland? You see Jimmy there smiling. We know Jimmy's not afraid to spend the money like we saw in 2022, obviously with Deshaun Watson. Remember midweek, the Browns were ruled out. And then here came Jimmy with a big fat ass check and said, fully guaranteed $230 million to Deshaun. And Deshaun said, okay, where do I sign? And Friday it came out. Remember, that was one of the most stunning breaking news I think I've ever seen in my life because we all thought it was done. I was watching Malik Willis draft highlights, Kenny Pickett, who else at that? Jimmy Garoppolo. I remember I was sitting there watching those highlights. I'm like, this is what we're going to have to work with because Baker was out of town. And I'm like, this is what we got. And all of a sudden, here came the Deshaun Watson news, and I was as stunned as could be. And I was excited at the time. Now, obviously, didn't pan out to what we thought it would be. But I do think though John Harbaugh is the kind of guy who next year look at the Browns quarterback situation. You got Shador obviously and Deshaun Watson. I think Harbaugh is the kind of guy who probably feels like he can get the best out of both of those guys. I know some people still believe like Stump Mitchell, who was there in Cleveland in 22 and 23, who believes they didn't do a good enough job getting Deshaun up to speed where he needed to be to get him back to where they were hoping he would become again. So maybe a different coach, you maybe get the different player out of him. Maybe you get a solid, if you're paying him $80 million next year, why not see what a different coach, what he looks like? So I don't know. That's just my thought. And I did get some more insight last night from a legendary coach. I'm not going to name his name. I'll save it maybe for a later date, who also believes that Watson should be their quarterback one next year. I'll just leave it at that. So, but he also believes that a different coach, he could be revitalized. His career could be revitalized still. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, a lot of people believe that, and maybe John Harbaugh believes he can do that too. Hey, I got this guy right here. He's still, pretty talented. I mean, he already hit the lows of his career. Now, I don't know if he'll ever be the same with the injuries and just, a lot of this happened and it's been, a long time. So, but even with Shador Sanders, maybe he feels he can get the most out of him. And the Ravens were interested in getting Shador, right? But forget all that because we have to get the guy here first if that's who we really want to hire. And he's my top choice right now because I think we need somebody in here that can really, who is proven an alpha and a culture builder, a program builder. That's what we need. And so, and a true developer of players and men. Let's take a look or listen to what Tony Grossi said this week about what he heard, what the offering price is to, or not the offering, what the asking price is from John Harbaugh to get him to a franchise if you're looking to get him.
I talked to a league insider who speculates on what he's heard about Harbaugh's prerequisites to even be interested in your job.
Okay.
$20 million a year.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. $10 million assistant coach budget.
Not a problem.
Okay. Total authority over the roster. And also would like to select his own guy to lean on, personnel guy.
Okay, so would he be making the draft picks? Like, you're going to ask this guy? That kind of makes me feel uneasy. Does he want more say over the roster than what he had in Baltimore?
Yes.
Ooh.
Which would be a total change in the structure here. I think there are 4 definite candidates for Harbaugh to end up with. Cleveland now is, I think, 4th.
Okay.
Miami,
the Giants,
and Atlanta.
And so that's courtesy of ESPN Cleveland, which, by the way, I was on Monday. I called into Goldhammer and spoke to him and gave my thoughts about Chris Shula. So go check that out. It's on my Instagram, on the real page, and my personal one. So yeah, your boy was on ESPN Cleveland. But shout out to them. They were awesome. But no, I now that report was before Miami hired a GM, right? So Miami's out of it now, in my opinion. And you saw tonight with the report from Jonathan Jones, it's down to these 4 teams here. And you go with Jay Glazer said over I mean, it was yesterday, I think Jay Glazer put out the report that by the end of the weekend we'll know the 4 teams. These are the 4 teams came out tonight. Now, here's what's interesting about all this. You heard what he said there about the asking price: $20 million, $10 million for a coaching staff, which is a little higher than usual. Basically full control of personnel, have a personnel guy to help him, but he makes a lot of the final decisions, right? Well, Jonathan Jones put in his article tonight that it says right here, the reported extensive contract requirements of John Harbaugh are not accurate, according to Jonathan Jones. Per Jones, the quote, demands are inaccurate, according to a source with knowledge. Harbaugh will command a high salary base simply off his resume, and some level of roster say is inherited in attracting a coach of that caliber, Jones wrote. But demanding a demand of $20 million in salary and full roster control are not required to land Harbaugh's services. So I found this interesting, the conflicting reports. So you heard what Grossi said earlier in the week, and then tonight from a national reporter, it says that that's inaccurate. So what do I think's going on here? And Mary Kay Cabot's also been reporting that there's been interest with he and the Browns during the week as well. I think John Harbaugh's agent is definitely telling the Browns what he would want from Cleveland. I think he would ask a little more from Cleveland, probably because of the situation, and just it's Cleveland for a lot of guys. That's may not be the most desirable job. So I think that's part of it. I think his agent has made it known to Cleveland through the 2 of the main known reporters here in Cleveland, Mary Kay and Tony Grossi, especially, of what he wants. That's just my opinion. That's my speculation. The agents are always, throwing out stuff through the media and making, the Browns understand what that is. So I think he's made it known to the Browns what he wants. It's probably going to take $20 million to get him here or somewhere in that ballpark, and he probably would want a little more control. Now, a report came out yesterday, that he would be interested in keeping Tommy Rees and Jim Schwartz on his coaching staff. It was also reported that the Browns are telling candidates they would like Jim Schwartz to remain as defensive coordinator. So I think he's kind of looking at it like, if you want me to, keep Tommy Rees. Now, I believe him and Tommy Rees is represented by Excel. I think so is John Harbaugh. So I believe they might have the same agency. I'm pretty sure on that, but if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But people can clarify that. But I'm pretty sure they have the same agency. So if it's that he would be willing to keep Tommy Rees and John Harbaugh, makes you wonder. Well, maybe that he's just, you want me to keep these guys? I like them, but you're gonna have to pay me a little more. So I'm really curious to see what all this. I think you're kind of piecing the puzzle here. What he's really telling the Browns. We know the interest is real and mutual, like we saw earlier. But what's it going to take? How much will it take? And I think ultimately, if the Browns are going to say, "Well, here we want you to keep Jim Schwartz as DC," especially, I think Tommy Rees, they like him, but if Todd Bucken came in as OC, I don't think they'd be mad at that at all. So. But I think John Harbaugh is also making a known back channel through his agent about what he would want from the Browns as well. So I'm curious. I think, if it's, New York or Atlanta, New York, I'm not so sure about. I think he likes Jackson Dart in that roster, but how much does he and does him and the GM get along? I've heard conflicting things about that, so I don't know about that. Matt Ryan's now the president of football operations for the Atlanta Falcons. How close is their relationship? I don't know. So it's very interesting to see what happens here. I think honestly, people can rank each team right now, maybe based off the rosters, because they got Jackson Dart, and maybe some better weapons in the Browns, or blah blah blah, or cap flexibility or whatever. But honestly, I think everybody's in a even playing field. I think it's going to come down to whatever owner and organization that sits in front of him in these meetings this week between the four teams. Whoever impresses him the most, maybe pays him may come down to money, and how much control he has. That's going to come down to Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy Haslam is probably the biggest X factor in this whole thing with John Harbaugh, because Jimmy's shown he's willing to go nuclear and pay whatever money. And if Jimmy wants to really take it, turn up the heat a little bit, he can give him a lot of control. Maybe bring a new GM. I don't see that, but I didn't think Andrew Berry was also 100% safe, even when they said he was, because even in 19, when they fired Freddie Kitchens, initially John Dorsey was safe until he wasn't. And we saw this last year with the Jaguars. They were going to retain their GM, and then they wanted Liam Cohen. He said, well, I don't want that GM, so they fired him. And, I think it was Trent Baalke, but it seemed to work out for them. So I don't think you're never truly safe until until it's over. So very interesting to see where this is going to play out. Now we're going to get into some other candidates here down the road too. They've have had interest in. We'll go one by one. Shout out to Will Smith, publisher. He said, I don't see the Browns taking him. Barry's not going anywhere, and he said the head coach is staying. So the deal will fall through. They may talk to him, but they are not going to hire John. Sorry. Well, what head coach is staying? Because they fired Kevin Stefanski, so they don't have a head coach right now. Buckeye Wildcats. So what kind of Godfather offer with a bag of money does Mr. Haslam have to offer John Harbaugh and his agent? With $25 million per year for 6 years, $12 million a year to his assistants, plus full control. I don't know, Buckeye Wildcat, but you and I are thinking the same language. I think that's or talking the same language. Excuse me. I think that's I don't know if 25, but I think right around 20, and I think probably a little more control than he would in other places. Probably a little more money. I think Todd Monken would probably be the OC if I had to bet, and I think you have to pay him a little more. Probably give Schwartz an increase, and whoever else he would want as well. But yeah, I think the report. We saw the national guy tonight say that's not his demand, but I think there's a reason that got to Tony Grossi. I think that's what he's telling Cleveland what he wants from Cleveland. That's just my opinion. Wally, what's up, brother? My 3-3 brother said, what's up? How you doing, Joseph? I'm doing all right. Just hanging in there. Hope you're doing well, brother. Buckeye Wildcats, they're cool. But yeah, that's all I got on my end. Joining me now is the man, the myth, the legend, the professional fan, Sir Michael Antonis. Mike?
Hello.
Also joining us tonight, Mike. Always keeping it real, and I'm sure people are dying to hear his reaction to the Mike McDaniels possible, being a coach candidate for the Browns. We're not going to get to that initially, but Jersey's in the house, Mike.
Hello.
What's up?
But Mike, I'll go to you first. Let's start with John Harbaugh, excuse me, and we'll stick with him on this first topic here, and then we'll get to the candidates. All the stuff I pointed out there, the conflicting reports between Grossi and Jonathan Jones. I think his agent is making it clear to the Browns what he wants, but there is real and mutual interest, Mike. That's a report that came out tonight. So your reaction to all these latest reports, Mike, with John Harbaugh?
Yeah, I mean, I knew there would be mutual interest between him and Cleveland. They both know each other relatively well. Haslam has always had immense respect for John. And I don't get the whole, the Browns aren't a sought-after coaching position. They have a great situation as far as moving into a head coach, because every situation when you fire the head coach isn't going to be great. There's not a good situation. You're not in a good situation if you have to fire your head coach. So with the Browns, I mean, you have 2 first-round picks. You have 11 picks in the next draft. You have an elite defense already. You had a great draft the previous year. You had Harold Fannin Jr. and Quinshon Judkins. You got to rebuild the O-line. You got to figure out quarterback and get some new receivers in. But overall, the situation could be a lot worse. I mean, it could be the Titans. and the Titans need everything except quarterback. But yeah, no, I'm not shocked that there's real mutual interest between the Browns and Harbaugh. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we are the team that Harbaugh ends up choosing. I like what you said earlier about Harbaugh being this competitive guy. Things ended sourly with the Ravens and him just wanting to play them twice a year, just to kind of show them. And I think it would be even funnier if Kevin Stefanski ends up getting hired by the Ravens. That would be hilarious. We just swap coaches. But there's been some interesting developments in interviews recently that even if we don't get Harbaugh, I think Shula is becoming more and more of a possibility. We reached out to Nate Shielhouse. Am I stealing something you were going to talk about later?
Well, yeah, we'll get that. We'll stay focused on Harbaugh.
Oh, yeah,
now.
my bad. I ramble. But
no, you're good. Percentage chance right now, John Harbaugh, you think is the Browns' next head coach, and you can see right there. It sounds like he may be fourth according to the rankings. Although I think it's all even playing field once it comes down to it.
Yeah,
because you can stand with each team. What do you think?
I'm gonna give it less than half, but more than a quarter. I'm gonna say 33% chance. Because I'm going to axe the Titans off that list. There's no way in hell he would go to the Titans when he has no chance of competing for the next, 4 years? 3 years at least?
Yeah, I mean, unless he believes in Cam Ward that much.
I mean, Cam Ward's nice. I think he's their guy. I mean, he was their best player, but you need receivers, you need an O-line, you need a running game, you need a defense, you need a defensive line, you need 2 corners, you need a linebacker core.
Well, even Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta. I don't. I mean, what are you working with? I mean, Penix, but there's injury concerns. I mean, I don't even know about Atlanta, honestly. And then New York. New York has I think some nice young pieces they're building out there, but I don't even know about New York, to be honest with you. I mean, I mean. One thing the Browns have over everybody else is they have the best player in football on their team, who just broke the sack record, and they have one of their units is one of the most elite defensive units in the NFL. That should mean something. I mean, I think all the draft picks they have coming up and some of the moves they can make, if you put the right people in there in charge, they can turn that offense around in a year.
Right. And the biggest thing that the Browns have, that not to cut you off, but
they can get it to where it can complement the offense.
Right.
Different people in charge. It ain't that hard.
And you have an owner. The biggest thing the Browns have over a lot of other teams is you have an owner who doesn't care about spending money, which is such a huge strength. Jimmy Haslam, for all of his faults, is never afraid to put the checkbook down on the table and do what needs to be done. For all of his faults, Jimmy Haslam will always spend money to try and make his team better.
Jersey, what's your thoughts on all this?
I think it's greater than what Mike said. I think it's more of my initial answer was 50. I'm going to say almost 60%. And the other thing is, we were talking about that last night. It's a luxury to be able to go to a team and you don't have to worry about one side. Like, he completely doesn't have to do anything with the defense. He can completely focus on rebuilding the offensive line, getting some receivers in there. We know he loves the tight end with Mark Andrews, so he's got his tight end, he's got his tailbacks. Cleveland's not, we can't just go I was Cleveland. Cleveland's actually, I think, a good destination. You have the picks coming, you got Cap, and you got a brand new stadium coming. So, he's from Ohio. He's a Midwestern guy. I would think he might want to stay in the division. So, I don't know. I think it's probably, I'm gonna say probably 60%.
Damn.
And you got an owner, and because you also know that you have an owner that you could almost probably control in a sense, because he has to get it right.
Oh, Jimmy will do, if John comes here, Jimmy will do whatever he says.
And there's no Deep Augusta in the way anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna come here. It's your town. You know what I mean? It's your team. You're basically running the fucking show. So I just think it's, like I said, lots of money available, 2 first-round picks coming. You can easily set this team up. Just get some O-linemen, get some receivers. You got your tight end. You got your tailback. Defense is set. Like you said, you got the best player in football on defense. What if you got what if Corbo is able to come back? You got your linebacker short. I mean,
Best linebacker core in football at that point. It's already pretty good if you bring Devin Bush back.
I'm just saying it's
Now, what about the quarterback position? Because I think that's probably what a lot of people say. When you look at the Browns compared to these other teams, it's not as appeasing.
Well, that there is the unknown there, but he might, like you said, he may feel like he can make one of these QBs work, but if not, you have the assets to get a QB. So I don't think I think it's when you take those 4 teams, I just don't see the dude in New York. Atlanta.
Yeah.
Oh God. You know what I mean? So, and then Tennessee. I just he's a Midwestern guy. I see him staying in the Midwest. But you could say, well, Jim Harbaugh's on California, but so I don't know. I just think there's a much greater chance for the Browns. I
don't, not to cut you off, I don't think it's going to come down to quarterback though. It's going to come down to owner, because you said
that's what I'm saying.
It's going to come down to why did Jim Harbaugh go to L.A.? He has full control out there. They fired that GM they had initially out, Telesco, because he wants full control.
He's going to have full control. He would never have full control in New York.
No,
he's not going to Tennessee. And Arthur Blanks, he's not going there. You know what I mean?
They just hired Matt Ryan.
Yeah, you just got Matt Ryan. I mean, they do some stupid things there.
And as great as John Harbaugh is, Matt Ryan could shoot a guy in downtown Atlanta and they'd pardon him. That's just how Matt Ryan is to Falcons fans. They're not going to give him full control with Matt Ryan in the building.
No, it's Matt Ryan's team. It's Matt Ryan's team, but it'll never be Harbaugh's team. Harbaugh comes here though, he's firing anybody he wants other than Jimmy Haslam. I mean, it's going to be his team.
I think it would be funny for him to work with Schwartz.
Think about that though. If I wanted to go run an entire store, it would be great because I have a sales background. It would be great if I had someone taking care of service. And all I got to do is just communicate with them. I don't have to worry about it because they're handling I know they're elite at what they do. The department's firing. I would think it's got to be the same way, man. You can walk right in here and you got one of the best assistant coaches, best coordinators in all of football running your defense. And you got the best player in football on your defense. And you got emerging players too. So that's a luxury. And so what that means is all I have to do is short my offensive line, work on my receivers, and bring along these quarterbacks or get a quarterback, and we're good.
Yeah.
So,
and you look at the division too. Pittsburgh, you don't know when Rodgers is gone where they're going to go. He probably feels Baltimore's not going to be as good without him there. I think there might be a case for that. And then you look at Cincinnati. It's Cincinnati.
Train wreck.
And I don't know if Burrow's going to be there much longer. So
I feel bad for Joe Burrow. Quick caveat: that dude looks depressed.
But I mean, I think Jim probably looks at the division. It's probably here. I've been dominating this division for a while now. The last 10 years, I could do it anywhere.
Keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I got an elite defense here. Like you said, I just get the quarterback offense settled. You're right there. I mean,
and
we just haven't had to do it.
And like you said, the competitiveness. What better way to jam it to your the team that just fired you when they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, they already seem to have they're already struggling they already struggle with the Browns 50% of the time anyway. So, why not jam it to their asses?
Well, in a situation, fellas, where he doesn't come here, there have been a list of other candidates. And shout out to the Dogs podcast for all these graphics. Great show. Go subscribe to them and follow them on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, or X, excuse me. But so we'll go down the list here, each guy, to wrap up here of what we think of each candidate, if it's not John Harbaugh, or what we think maybe each candidate's connected to. So let's start with Jim Schwartz, fellas. Obviously, we all talk about Jim Schwartz. I think Jim Schwartz, they considered him. I don't think he was ever a real candidate to get the head coaching job. No, I don't know if I agree with that. I think he should have been at least considered. But I think Jim Schwartz was interviewed mainly just to keep him around and talk to him about other future possibilities with another head coach in charge. What do you guys say?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in my opinion, I've always been like, if Jim Schwartz ends up the head coach, I'm cool with that. But at the same token, I see why the Browns will want outside voices of people that haven't been in the building to build up the culture again. But like this, I'd be fine with that.
Jersey?
I would be fine with it. But I'm with Mike. I just think you do need a like-minded person, but with a fresh face, fresh voice to come in. So, but if they said tomorrow, yeah, we made Schwartz the head coach, I'll be excited.
Yeah, Tommy Reese, the next guy here, I think the same thing. I think they really just interviewed him more for a lot of these guys that we're going to name tonight. They're listed as head coaching interviews, but I think a lot of times these head coaching interviews are more coordinator interviews as well. Like, hey, if we get so and so, would you interested to be an OC here still? You kind of get to know some of these guys a little more. Tommy Reese obviously know well. He's been here for a couple years, but I think it's kind of the same thing there. We saw the report Harbaugh would be interested in keeping Tommy Reese on his staff. I think that's more all that's about, Mike. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what that's about for sure. By the way, has there been? I wanted to ask a question too, and I answer this one. Isn't it weird that Harbaugh has commented on the Browns coordinators, and to my knowledge, he hasn't done that about other teams yet? I thought that's a little weird. But anyway, I digress.
I thought it was kind of weird. The Browns interviewed Todd Monken before it was announced he got fired, when he got fired on Monday.
Oh, exactly. But yeah, no, to answer your question as well, with Tommy Reese, I like him a lot. I think he's well respected. My opinion on him hasn't changed. I think he's going to be an excellent coordinator and an excellent coach somewhere at some point. But, it's too early here. If Tommy were to go to college, I'm sure he'd find success. If he ends up not being here after our next head coaching hire and goes elsewhere, I'm sure he'll be very successful. It's like one of those Kyle Shanahan or Kevin O'Connell kind of situations where like he's here, he's great, but I think it's just too early in his career for him to be a head coach.
Shout out to Humble. He said, like streams helps a lot, everyone. Everyone have a beautiful Monday. I'm about to go to bed. Just had to write a message real quick. I'll be listening on the playback. Go Browns. OH. Man, you go to bed early, bro. Well, you get up early too. But shout out to Humble. 216 love. Shout out to Humble. Chantel's in the house. Hello, Joseph, Mike, and George. Hello, Chantel. Good to see you as always.
What's
Thanks for tuning in.
Good evening.
Wally also said, Mike, how you doing?
Oh, what's up, Wally? I didn't see that. I ramble.
Mike's rambling. Jersey, your quick thoughts on Tommy Reese?
No, not that I dislike Tommy Reese. I just don't think the qualifications there to walk into this situation. So
Yeah.
it's going to take. It's a heavy hand that's got to come in here, and he's not there yet. So no.
The next guy here, the OC of the Bengals, Dan Pitcher. Now, Dan Pitcher obviously was he was with Dangerberry with the Colts back in the day. I believe it's the scouting department. A lot of people in the local media, Mike, who think the Browns have no shot at Harbaugh or anybody. We can't ever have anything nice around here. They think Dan Pitcher is going to be the guy, and that he's like Kevin Stefanski. He likes analytics, and he's this, he's that. I did some background search on Dan Pitcher, and there are some things I like about him. When you listen to the guy talk, he sounds like a guy with who could be a head coach one day. But I think what a lot of people are missing, what the Browns really need, which is a culture builder. And I don't think that's Dan Pitcher. We don't need somebody to we're not hiring you for your offense. We're hiring you because you're supposed to be the head coach of a franchise. We need a leader, which is what Andrew Berry actually really emphasized. I know there's some clips going around the last couple of days of what he was saying about how, certain teams might look for this and that. But the main thing he emphasized during that whole press conference was leadership. Somebody that has a direction and knows what they're doing and has done it before. I think Dan Pitcher to me would be the consolation prize. If they can't get anybody that they like, I think they end up settling with him. I don't think it's going to get to that point. I don't think Jimmy will allow it, but that's how I see it. Dan Pitcher, probably a really nice OC, but is that the guy that we need to hire to help us get where we need to get to? I don't think so. But I think he does have he could be a really good head coach one day. I think there are some things about him I like.
Yeah. That's a no from me, at least right now. I think he's got to bounce around a little bit, and I don't know if I want. The Bengals offense is never a problem for them, but kind of like you were touching on, we really need a culture builder. No offense to Dan Pitcher, I'm sure he's great, but to see the state of the Bengals and the state of that offensive locker room, I don't know if I want somebody from that situation. Taylor.
If not to cut you off, but if you were going to hire Dan Pitcher, why don't you just keep Stefanski?
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Dan Pitcher is one of those guys where it's that's not an upgrade. It's not even a lateral move. I would argue that Kevin Stefanski is keeping him is probably the better situation over hiring a Dan Pitcher. So for those reasons, I don't think it's a good idea. The culture of the Bengals is just awful, especially in that offensive room, which is shocking considering how bad their defense is. That their defensive locker room's better. I'm just no.
Jersey, Dan Pitcher.
No. Mike said the same thing I'm thinking. I don't want anybody from Cincinnati. We
don't want a padlock over any machines, do we?
Other than Joe Burrow, but there's why would we want anybody from the coaching? Why would we expect anybody on staff in Cincinnati to come here and change the culture here? You know what I mean? I'm serious. I mean, it's.
I agree. You want any of that culture down there? How's that working out?
If they'd have Joe Burrow, they would win less games than us. You know what I mean? So
I could say they've kind of mismanaged Joe Burrow.
They have. That's the worst organization of football, without a doubt. I mean, we've had we have. I just think my God, you padlocked the freaking vending machines at one point. You're selling TVs out of the stadium. I mean, you're an absolute joke.
I'll say this too. And if you look at Joe Burrow if you look at the guy Joe Burrow was when he came out of college, he's a lot different guy than he was when he came in the league.
Yeah, if they didn't have Joe Burrow.
But I'm saying the culture he's in, I think if you put that guy in a different culture with real alpha, leadership, stability, this is how we do it. I think Joe Burrow would probably be in a different state right now in his career. I think he went somewhere that in the long run, short term, they were able to have some success, make the Super Bowl, but I don't think they're doing him any favors in terms of on and off the field.
Well, the organization has always allowed
they don't know how to manage
individuals. Or Marvin Lewis was, you get nothing but criminals. Criminal, hell, head to Cincinnati. You know what I mean? Joe Mixon beat the hell out of some woman in a restaurant. Let's get him 30 carries a game. You know what I mean? I mean, it's it wasn't disputable. You watched it on video. So I just don't think the Cincinnati Bengals are a first-class organization. Irregardless of what the Browns' record has been, I think the Browns. I think Kevin Stefanski is a first-class person. I think Andrew Berry is. I think there's a lot of people in that organization that are, and I was really impressed with Jimmy Haslam. What the things that he spoke about in his press conference. He spent a lot of time talking about quality individuals, and you could see it was hard for him.
Now, a lot of people
You
will
know,
counter that and say, look at all the guys they brought in with allegations and stuff recently. And
well,
you know.
allegations, and I would sit down with any one of them people and go head to head and tell them why I think what I think. But anyways, here, I still don't. I still think they are, and I think they've been building towards that. I should say. I think that's the one thing they've been building towards is trying to try to put guys on rosters that are quality individuals, because you can get so much out of a guy like that. He could be a freaking. He don't have to be a Hall of Famer or All Pro every year, but I mean, if you got somebody that's a quality individual, man, you can get so much out of these guys and get so much value out of them. So I believe that's what they're working towards, and so I think that also gives them an advantage with Harbaugh, because if you listen to you watch behind the scenes with Harbaugh, like when they're on that was it Hard Knocks, you can definitely tell that's important to him. So not here. Do you get the guys occasionally on a 53-man roster that
every organization gets those? Patriots are dealing with it this year. Chiefs are dealing with it. All the top there's not a lot of it is out of you can't always say to look at the organization. Well, they can't predict what people are going to do.
But when you have a track record of it, like the Bengals have had, I mean, it just seems like it's the norm with them. So are they better than they used to be? Yeah. When Marvin Lewis was there, it was my gosh, what a bunch of they ran a combine in a freaking federal penitentiary. So I don't want anybody from that joint. I'm out on that cat.
Aiden Durday and Todd Munkenmike, we'll put them together. I found this interesting, Mike. I don't think either of them are actually good. I think Aiden Durday, I'm just bringing this up. The Rudy rule, you have to interview 2 minority candidates, I believe, right? Is it 2 or 3? So I think it's 2. So he does, they had to interview a minority candidate speaking of Durday. But he also obviously is the DC for the head coach of the Seahawks, who was connected to the Ravens. Monken obviously with the Ravens. I think it was kind of interesting, Mike. They interviewed both these guys right before the Harbaugh news came out, and Harbaugh was they knew behind the scenes probably he was fired that Monday, which he did, and it came out Tuesday. But in between that timeline when it came out publicly, they went in and tried to interview these 2 guys, especially Monken. I thought that was interesting, Mike.
Yeah, I thought it was too. To put them in, I don't think they were head coaching interviews, quote unquote. If Monken was serious, I don't know if I'd have an issue with Monken, just because he's been around the NFL for forever, but like he's never got head coaching looks. But anyway, I think this is like trying to, at least I don't know if they've had communication with Harbaugh's agent ahead of time, or this is them basically saying listen, bro, we'll get whoever you want, you know what I mean, or what it is. But I think it was more so to try and Pied Piper Harbaugh this way.
Jersey?
No, I wouldn't want Todd Monken as a head coach. I mean, again, he's not going to come in and make the impact that needs to be made. And then I can't even see the screen. What's the other one?
Aiden Durday.
I don't even know who the hell he is. So no.
All right, next. Here we go. What are y'all thoughts on Mike McDaniels?
No, hell no.
Jersey,
not a chance. Jersey. That dude makes fucking Stefanski look like Saban, Lombardi, and Belichick all combined. I mean, that guy is an abomination to the sport. He shouldn't even be on a side. It just irritates the living piss out of me. It shows you the state of football and what it's trending towards, that this guy is even on a sideline. It's mind-boggling. I cannot believe it. Really makes me think that if somebody said, I want to be an assistant coach in the NFL in 5 years, I really think anybody could go do it then. I mean, this kind of goes back to what Dan was saying in that text. I mean, some of these guys that are in the league, it's like, I mean, when you look at this guy, anybody could do it. You know what I mean? I mean, this guy is. How could they even consider this guy? And that's the other thing that's a state of this. Here, John Harbaugh is an outlier. He should never have been fired. He's one of the best coaches in all football. Okay, why the hell would anybody even talk about a coach that just got fired, that just did a lousy job? It's a shame that he's even being given the opportunity, and not just him, but any coaches, any shit, even Stefanski. I mean, if you look at what Stefanski's done here, so quick to give job opportunity, it's absolutely crazy. But at least Stefanski is. I mean, this Stefanski, at least I don't know what term I want to use. It looks like he belongs on a sideline. You know what I mean? The way he carries himself. This guy's sitting here complaining and that he's cold. You know, he comes up north. He's got like fucking 2 Parker coats on, ski pants, and he's yelling, "I'm cold." And I just couldn't play for the guy. I could not play for that guy. Not a chance in hell. So absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't say it enough.
I think he's a really good offensive mind. I think as a coordinator, he's a hell of a coordinator. But you know, you're not hiring a guy for his offense. You're hiring a guy as a head coach to be a head coach. He manages more than one side of the ball. He has to be the guy who's the leader of the franchise and sets a culture and a tone and development and all the things that go with. There's so much that goes into being a head coach, and that's what they're looking for is true leadership. And I didn't see that from him down in Miami. You know, I think he's a funny dude. Probably not a bad guy, but you know, I think he needs to probably go be a coordinator for you. Now, if they hire Harbaugh and he comes in to be the coordinator, hey, who knows? But I think he'll get a head coaching job. Just won't be in Cleveland. I think he'll end up getting the job maybe in Baltimore or a place like that, where there seems a little more player empowerment going on right now. But go ahead.
I've met some guys in the industry I'm in that fit that bill. They're really good at analyzing some data and pulling some strategies.
He was a spreadsheets guy in San Francisco.
Yeah, but they were horrific leaders, and nobody would follow behind them. You know what I mean? So he's one of those guys that he shouldn't be in any contact with a player. You know, he should just be, you know, if he's useful in the sense that he could draw some schemes, fine. But a coordinator has to be even more than a play caller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to be you're responsible for developing one half of the team, so or a third of the team, I should say, but a very intricate part of the team, the defense or the offense. So that guy, absolutely not. I would be like, what the hell do we get rid of Stefanski for?
Mike?
Yeah, I'm a no.
All right.
Joe said enough.
yeah. People were waiting for it, so there you go.
I mean, has anybody ever seen this guy all fired up in the middle of his team at the end of a game, like getting them all like? Has anybody? I don't know if I've ever seen it.
With the aviators on.
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't want any idiot out on the sideline with his aviators on. As much as I love Mike Tomlin.
And you can't wear those capri pants in Cleveland all year long.
Yeah, his capri pants and his aviators. It gets you. Stop. You know what I mean? This is football. I mean.
All right. Yeah. We know you don't want Mike McDaniel.
No.
Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator for the Chargers. I think Minter has a lot of interesting things with him. I think he has some things I like about him. I know some people were going to say no because he was involved possibly with some of the stuff that went on in Michigan, allegedly. But, I mean, I like the trees that he came under, the Harbaugh tree. You know, I think he probably has a lot of good qualities about him. I know some people think he can be a good head coach. I'd interview him, and see what what he has to say, what kind of culture he would build. I don't know how him and Schwartz would work. Because Minter's a first-time head coach, not like a John Harbaugh, who is a true head coach who can come in and work with a Jim Schwartz. I think a lot easier than a first-time head coach. So, if they really want to keep Shorts, I don't think Minter's the way to go. Mike?
Yeah, I'm kind of out on Minter. I like him a lot, but if we're doing like a first-time head coach, DC, I don't know if Minter's the guy. I like you said, I like the trees he came under. He's done wonders for the Chargers, but I think there are better options.
Jersey?
No chance in hell. I want no person. I wouldn't even want, we were so desperate. I was like, yeah, I love that Jim Harbaugh here. I don't want Jim Harbaugh either. That Sharon Moore shit, that just put a whole different layer on it for me. And some of the other stuff I've read that was going on there, and shit that's been found on computers. And I mean, I don't want anybody that was perfectly fine with doing that shit. You know what I mean? I don't want that guy. He belongs in Cincinnati.
Harbaugh already went over. Now, Nate Scheelhaas, I believe that's how you say his name. He's the passing game coordinator for the Rams. I brought his name up 2 weeks ago, not as head coaching candidate, though. I think Nate Scheelhaas, Mike, number one, he's a minority candidate, so I think they got the Rooney Rule out of the way because they have to by league rule. But I think he also is a guy he's a hot up-and-coming OC right now. He's not an OC yet, but I think a lot of people think he will be a really good OC. I brought his name up here on this show 2 weeks ago. I want to talk about Chris Shula. I said if Chris Shula didn't want to let's say didn't want to retain Tommy Reese, I think Sheila has to be the guy he'd take with him. I think that's kind of more what that's for. I think he's another guy who's going to be a possible coordinator candidate for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think who knows if Tommy Reese gets another job elsewhere, maybe Harbaugh brings him in. But
people are very high on Nate Scheelhaas. I mean, he was obviously been under McVay and LaFleur out there, but he also was with Matt Campbell out in Iowa State for a while too. So a lot of people are very high on him.
I'm high on him too as an OC candidate. I mean, there are a few passing attacks that are as good as the LA Rams. I mean, anybody from that tree, I'd love to have as a coordinator. I'm all for the OC. This is, like you said, I don't think this was a head coaching interview as much as it was an OC interview, but if it was for OC, sign me up immediately.
Jersey?
No, not at all. I could see, like Mike said, if he comes with Shula, and I'm okay with Shula because Shula's been there a long time, and it's a winning organization. He's learned to win there. But I'm okay with him being head coach. But no, not this guy, because it's just too critical now. This has to be done the right way. So I wouldn't want him as a
not as a head coach.
I mean, maybe I just don't know. Yeah. If he came with Shula's guy, but again, Shula's not my first pick either. So
let's go to Joe Brady now, offense coordinator for the Bills. I'm a no. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think I'm a no too. There's something weird with the Bills offense since he took over, and I think it could look a lot better than it does. And if it wasn't for Josh Allen, it would be significantly worse. I can't put my finger on it, but it's a no.
I don't think it's just now we need. Jersey?
No. It's like doing Stefanski all over again. I don't know anything about the guy personally, but still, like, this is all the shit about, like, oh, this guy's been a great coordinator for 11 years in Minnesota, and I mean, I don't even want to hear. I'm just going right back to Harbaugh. Jimmy Haslam. If John Harbaugh is legitimately interested in Cleveland and is considering Cleveland, which it sounds like he is, that's all I need if I'm Jimmy Haslam. I have given this dude every freaking thing I can. I have to, because I have to deliver now. I got to deliver. I have to have a sure thing. Sure thing's available now. I got a sure thing available. I got this stadium I'm building. I got to sell lots of tickets, big prices on tickets. I gotta invest. And so, and I'm always somebody that always says, it's not about bricks and mortar. So building your facilities and all that bullshit. It's about personnel. You can have the the nicest stadium in the world. If you don't got the right personnel, it's going to be a miserable fucking place. So invest into your head coach, guys. It's on the market. Make it happen. He has to make it happen.
Get it done.
Has to. Otherwise, he's in the same boat as he was 6 years ago. Now,
Yeah.
you got the king dumbass out, the Podesta, but again, you had an unknown as a coach. You brought in some coordinator that had never been a coach, and it was dismal. It was terrible. So you have a proven,
Well, it
legitimate
had some good
leader
moments, but
leader
they made
and winner.
playoffs, but just didn't end the way you wanted in the long term.
No, it's here. It was just here. Look, the 6 years, it was a disaster. If you look, you got to look at it in the 6 year period, and he just digressed and digressed. So the 6 years were absolute garbage. 2 of the years we won 8 games. So you have a guy in the market that is one of the best coaches in all football. He's a winner. He's a leader. You have to get him. You're Cleveland Browns. You have to get this guy.
They'll finish up here at the last two. Now, as in terms of first-time head coaches, these are the two I like the most. Jeff Hafley, the DC for the Packers. Obviously, they lost last night, but their offense in the second half could not get any drives together, and I think the defense was on the field a lot, and eventually the Bears were able to dissect them and get the plays done. But Hafley, I like. I remember Hafley back when he was at Ohio State. Hafley, one thing I like about Jeff Hafley, when you listen to him talk, he's got a little edge to him. And Jeff Hafley, he's one of those guys where he speaks it into existence. Like when Kirk Cignetti went to Indiana, he told everybody in Bloomington, quit talking like losers, quit acting like losers, start talking like winners. He came in and he said, Ohio State sucks, Penn State sucks, Michigan sucks. Like this guy came in and said, this is how we're going to talk. And he was right, because you have to do it's psychological. When you're so used to losing and you're so accustomed to losing and low standards like Cleveland has been for a while, you have to have somebody to come in here and shake that up and say, no, this is not how we're talking. Quit talking like that. Don't think that way. And Matt, you're every day when you brush your teeth, act like you're going to be a champion. And Jeff Hafley, I think, has that. I think he's very attention to detail. He has head coach experience. He has a little edge to him. I've done a lot more. I already knew about him a lot from when he was at Ohio State, but I think he'll be a really good head coach where he goes. He's got that leadership quality. I liked when he went up there this week and he gave a hell of a speech in the media and thanked them and said, they didn't end up winning, but he was like, we'll be back here next week, and smacked the podium and walked out. I like that. I think that's somebody who can go somewhere and change a culture. And he comes from a great place in Green Bay, obviously. And, I like Hafley a lot. Mike, what do you say?
I like Hafley, and this is going to sound weird, like when it comes to defensive minded guys that are going to be your CEO type coach, I also look at who are his connections and who are some of the guys he can bring with him. And so I kind of lump all of these defensive minded guys into kind of the same bucket. Harbaugh would count too, kind of, because he's a CEO head coach. But the thing with Harbaugh is he's a known culture builder. With the first time DC kind of guys like your Mentors, your Hafleys, your Shulas, it's like, who can they bring with them? And I don't like the names that Hafley could possibly bring with him from Green Bay or other teams he's worked at. So for that reason, I'm out. But that kind of leads into Shula, because I'm lumping them all together. For that same reason, I'm in for Shula, because the guys that Shula could bring with him as well.
Jersey, your thoughts on Hafley?
I like Hafley, but no, I don't. I would be, if they hired Hafley, I wouldn't be confident going into next year. I'd still be very apprehensive. So I just don't. Not in this situation. I mean, here, I get it. Every guy's a coordinator at one point and gets a gig, but and some do well, and some don't. But I just don't. He's bounced around a lot. So I just don't. I wouldn't think so. Shula, like I said that why I'm fine with it. He's been there a while. I've watched him I've watched some video of him how he coaches, and he's won. He's used to winning. You know, I don't think he wouldn't be with the Rams as long as he has been if he did have a winning mentality. Because obviously they expect to win there and they've won. So I would be okay with that because, he might be a guy that can come in here. They can teach these guys how to actually win all the way through.
Yeah, I agree. I like Shula at all the first-time coordinators who would be, or first-time head coaches who are coordinators. Shula's still my top choice. I like him a lot. I think, for all the reasons you pointed out and a lot of connections, which I pointed out on ESPN Cleveland this week. Here's what I had to say.
I got an interesting theory, I think, in terms of who I think could be a coaching candidate for the Browns. His name was brought up earlier. It's 25-1 right now in the odds, and that's Chris Shula. And the reason why I bring up Chris Shula, they asked Andrew Berry today about, who's going to be helping him with the coaching search. This is his first time ever picking a coach as a GM, which, I think it's a big moment, obviously, from his career.
Right.
And I think a guy who's already in the building is Chris Polian. He was brought in as a special advisor in 2024.
Yep.
Obviously, Bill Polian, a key friend with Jimmy Haslam.
Yep. And Telesco would also have ties to Chris Shula, right? Because they're all John Carroll. That's right.
The John Carroll takeover, basically what it would be. And the key thing there, Aaron, with that is, Chris Shula and Tommy Reese were both together under the San Diego Chargers in 2016.
And so that was, I don't even repeat it. I'll just play that back again. That's all the reason I pointed out ESPN Cleveland last Monday was the same reason why I think he's always been in contention, why I think he could be Andrew Berry's top guy. Berry, Shula, Reese, I think Jim Schwartz and Shula, I think Shula could be a guy that would want to keep Tommy Reese, because I think, or not, Tommy Reese, but Jim Schwartz, excuse me, because I think one thing Chris Shula probably has learned, I think where Kevin Stefanski's downfall is what makes a great head coach is the staff he surrounds himself with. Your assistants aren't just guys that stand there and hold clipboards. That's anybody thinks that's sadly mistaken. That's not how football works. A lot of these guys are very valuable to your organization, and they've put a lot of time in a lot of these guys. It takes a long time to become a head coach. It's not as easy as people think. Even to become an assistant, a high-level assistant, takes a long, long time and a lot of work and a lot of years of experience and learning. So I think one thing, Sean McVay has shown is his ability to have good staffs around him every single year. It's what helps him, makes him a great head coach. When they made the playoffs, they had Bill Callahan, Alex Van Pelt, Stump Mitchell. As soon as all three of those guys left, everything went down to just like that. So, the offense was worse in the league. It was terrible. Like you said, 8 wins in 2 years. When the staff went around him suffered, he suffered as a head coach, and ultimately it cost him his job. So, I think Shula is a guy who can work with everybody in the building. Remember, and I brought up Chris Polian there. Chris Polian's, special advisor to the Browns. Probably, if I had to bet, probably has had, maybe it's not a coincidence the first draft with Chris Polian involved was the one they actually did pretty well on. I don't know. So he's a special advisor. I think probably to Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry's relationship with the Polian family is very close. Same with Jimmy Haslam. So I think it's where a lot of that is. Honestly, if I had to bet right now who I think the Browns will hire, I still think it's Chris Shula. I think John Harbaugh, if they don't get him, I think it's Shula. I think it's Harbaugh or Shula. That's where I'm at with it. And that's where I'll end with for my take on it. What do you guys say? Right now, what's your list? Maybe top 3. Mine's Harbaugh, Shula, and then I would probably say I'll say Jeff Hafley. Maybe Dan Pitcher, but I'll say Jeff Hafley. Go ahead, Mike.
I'd say Harbaugh, Shula, or
Harbaugh, Shula, and a drop.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is for me. Like Harbaugh, Shula, and then I'd say Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, and I like that. I would Jim Schwartz. If it was my list, it'd be Harbaugh, Shula, Schwartz. That'd be my list. But so I agree. Jersey.
Well, I think Schwartz is going to be in Cleveland one way or the other. Jimmy Haslam seemed pretty emphatic about that in that press conference.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, are they trying to find a coach that's willing to not change that coordinator out? And if they can't, do they just give it to Schwartz? It just seemed like he was dead set on Schwartz not leaving Cleveland. So I'm going to say same thing. Harbaugh, Shula, Schwartz.
Actually, you know
I don't
what?
think Schwartz is leaving
I don't either. And
unless
you
he
know what?
wanted to leave.
I wasn't going to say this tonight, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to go Harbaugh, Schwartz, wild card, Steve Sarkisian. Not saying I agree with that, but I think Steve Sarkisian for the Browns and the Falcons will be in play. His agent came out the other day and said that, and I've been hearing that for a while from even people I know, Jersey. We've talked to people that are in the college where they've been saying for a while he's going to make that jump. He's going to make that jump. He's going to make the jump. He's been getting interest from NFL teams recently, allegedly from his agent the other day. I think the Falcons I think him and the Falcons would have a lot of smoke. Him and Matt Ryan were together. That makes a lot of sense down in the South if that's what the movie wants to make. I just tell you, I think Steve Sarkisian's name will be brought up more either with the Browns or the Falcons in the coming days. I wouldn't be surprised. I think he's going to make the jump at some point, whether it's this offseason or next offseason. And I think you may see Lincoln Riley go to Texas. Now I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm just saying that's what I think is going to happen. But I think that's going to be my wild card name. I think it's going to go Harbaugh, Shula, and then I'm going to say Steve Sarkisian's name may be brought up this week. Not saying I would hire him, because I probably wouldn't hire him. I don't think that's what we need right now. But, and it's kind of it's a wild card, but I think his name will be brought up.
I wouldn't be surprised for obvious reasons.
Last one here. Chantel says, I want Matt LaFleur from Green Bay. What are your guys' thoughts if he gets fired from Green Bay? What about Matt LaFleur, Mike?
He's one of those weird candidates because I think he's honestly done a pretty good job in Green Bay. His issue has always been Green Bay's a weird team because of how they operate. They've always sustained success with how they do quarterback, but otherwise they don't give out a whole hell of a lot of long-term contracts to their guys. And they rely a lot on young guys. And that's been to Matt LaFleur's chagrin a little bit. For a long time, you're starting to see a little bit more of the competitiveness now, but I mean, all of those dudes are so young over on that team, even still. I don't know. I think he would be all right, but at the same token, I just think there are better candidates. He's a hard one to read.
I don't think he's going to get fired. But
I don't think they'll fire him, honestly.
Jersey, what do you think of Matt LaFleur?
No, I wouldn't want Matt LaFleur. I mean, Matt LaFleur has benefited. He had Rodgers and he got Jordan Love. I think Matt LaFleur, prior to the last few years, Detroit, coming alive. The Bears were in the shitter. Vikings are just up and down. You know what I mean? I think they should have done a lot better in that division. I would fire him if I was them, but I wouldn't want him here. I mean, I don't think he's an upgrade over Stefanski. I just think he was in a better position. He was in a better predicament.
Well, that's our thoughts right now on the coaching search. Guys, need to subscribe, and share because it's just getting started. And I'm sure this week there's going to be a lot of fireworks and noise. But, so subscribe here. Stay tuned to The Real, the professional fans. We'll be reacting to it, Mike, whenever news drops.
Absolutely. You said it the best. Subscribe, and share, folks. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all who will watch it on the playback. But, yeah, stay tuned. A lot more to come.
Right, Jersey, subscribe, and share. You got anything else on the way out of here?
Some great football games this weekend. If you missed them, you got to start watching these games. A lot of great games. But I agree. It's going to be an interesting week. And we'll see where we're at next weekend. Hopefully I have a coach hired. Hopefully I have Harbaugh, as Gerg says. How about Harbaugh?
Well, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys in the next one. I'm saluting. I'm out of here. Jersey.
See you, Mike.
is
See you tomorrow, bud.
very
See you
sweet.
tomorrow.
Mike, what are you doing?
I'm digging a hole to find out if Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth is a nonfiction novel.
Go.